Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I have a special guest, my lovely wife, Pattie.
Hey.
Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome, love.
Today we're going to talk about 9 things every empath needs in a relationship. But more specifically, more accurately put, these are 9 things every human being deserves in a relationship. But the empathic person is very aware of their truth, of the truth of other people. And their expectations might be higher because they can literally feel emotionally and energetically when something is off within another person or within a relationship. And this can be sometimes challenging for the empathic person. Sometimes this involves the changing of relationships a little bit as you wake up to what you're really dealing with. But as you have this clarity and the sensitivity, you'll be able to really find a real match on all levels for you, right?
Yeah.
So sign number 1 is honesty. Empathic people can smell BS 25 miles down the road. It's very easy. And more so, I would go to say that empathic people don't tolerate a lie very well. A lie, dishonesty is a very heavy, uncomfortable energy for someone who's that sensitive. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. It's because you can see the truth, and then you already know the truth. So you're like, just tell me what I already know because I can't take it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, like the idea of dancing on this, playing games, playing like head games.
Yeah,
it just seems so. Well. It doesn't fit well. It just seems like such a waste, so pointless, so like childish almost, right?
Right. Yeah. I feel like it's just not tolerated.
It's just not tolerated. Yeah. And that's good because that keeps us honest. Because I know if I was to try to lie, she would feel that and she would know it, and vice versa. So now we have a deeper trust because we know that we could tell if one another is lying.
Right.
Right?
Yes, definitely.
Number 2, and this is a tough one for a lot of couples, is a similar rate of growth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be like you're both going like this at the same time, but it's going to have to be like that a little bit. So you're both growing and changing together, but it doesn't have to be exactly even.
No, and it also doesn't have to be in the same way.
Right, yes.
Like
it just has to be a match energetically. So you can have different ideas about certain things that might not be a big deal breaker, but the core issues are all the same that you guys agree on, right?
Yeah. It reminds me of when I first started. I had a Kundalini awakening a long time ago, and I was telling her all about it. Honey, there's all this stuff. I was telling her all this stuff that me and you guys are always talking about, and she was like, wow. And a lot of people, when that happens to them, they get concerned that, they're not as into spirituality or metaphysics as I am, therefore they're not growing at my rate. But that's not the case.
And it's not going to work that way.
No. You even still have a much more down-to-earth and grounded way of expressing your growth and your spirituality. So it's not about what you talk about. It's just it's the vibration. It's the rate of inner work, the inner healing, the inner self-discovery. But that can be experienced and expressed in so many different ways. But we've seen it a lot where people outgrow their partner, and that can be difficult. And it's not even a knock on the partner or the friendship or whatever. It just means everyone has their own. Everyone
has their own journey and their own path and their own direction. And sometimes you start your journey with a partner, but then there's a fork in the road, and your journey takes you this way, and their journey takes them that way, and that's just part of the whole journey between the two of you.
Yeah, and that's not wrong.
No, it's perfect.
Yes. Number 3 is personal space. Right?
Yes.
Would you agree?
Yes. Which, in the beginning of our relationship, you didn't give me that very.
What?
When we would fight, I'd be like, you need to leave me alone, or I'm going to say some mean stuff to you that I don't mean.
Oh, wow.
But then he learned, and it worked. Do you not remember that?
I don't. This is sort of putting me on the spot. I must say, I thought I was a perfect boyfriend the entire time. I guess not.
Yes, you were perfect. You're perfectly perfect for me.
Yeah, you know what? She's right. I would try to solve her problems. I'd say, oh, there's a conflict. I'm so empathic, I can pick up on it. Let's get to the bottom. Let's solve it right now.
Right, because the like knowing that we were in a conflict is uncomfortable. So you'd want to like solve the conflict before we separate because that it would be more comfortable for you. But if I didn't have my personal space, then I would flip out and say really horrible, mean things to you that I didn't mean. But I wouldn't be able to help it because I would just be so angry.
Right.
Or like, whatever. And so, but I had to learn to ask for that space, so it was a learning for me as well, because I didn't know how to ask for the personal space until, after being with you for a little bit.
Mind you guys, this was like 12, 13 years ago.
Today's actually our 14-year anniversary of like being together. So this was, like a year in. 2 years in.
Yeah. But now we're at a point where we both just naturally take our personal space. Like earlier, I was in the sauna. I was meditating. I was doing my breath work, doing my own self-care. And you have your own way of doing that. And we both are completely understanding of that. But because it's important, it's not healthy for us to be too joined at the hip. We really need our own space to really become regrounded in our own energy and our own vibration. But what you were saying is more specifically asking for space when we're fighting. But I was more so.
Even still, if I'm in need of space to process something that I'm experiencing, now I know how to say, like, listen, I need like 20, 30 minutes to just go be by myself. Can you, watch the kids for a little bit, and I'm gonna go process.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah, it's important. I would say it's essential. Number 4 is acceptance and allowing each other to be themselves, right? Like we're very similar in some ways, but we're also very different.
Yeah.
A lot of her like ideas on life and ways of explaining or defining spirituality is very, very, very vastly different than mine. But we don't try to mold each other's opinions and thoughts on life to how we feel and think, right?
Right. Well, and why would we want to?
Well, because there's reasons why people do that.
I know. It makes it easier on the person trying to change someone, but it's not allowing them to be who they truly really are and have their own ideas. Right?
Right. Yeah, I feel like empathic people, those who are going through an awakening process, are becoming more deeply in touch with who they are at the core, and will have a very almost impossible time tolerating anyone trying to
change them. Yeah, or make them who, someone they're not. Yeah,
and I find that our relationship, we've really stretched each other a lot. There's been a lot of time. It's been like not always easy to really allow each other to be the way they are. We're very different in many ways. Like she's very extroverted, believe it or not, and I'm very introverted. So when we like go out in public, she's just talking to everybody.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, why are you talking to everybody? It's making me uncomfortable. But I'm like, you know what? That's who she is. That's okay, and I can learn from that. Maybe I could be more extroverted. So
it helps me to maybe not be so.
As an example, but yeah. So we accept each other, and that allows us to learn a lot from each other's attributes.
Yeah.
For me, like when you started going through all this, I had this like, okay, if he's telling me all these things that maybe I'm not aware of, or maybe I don't believe them right now, that doesn't make it any less real for him. So I'm just gonna allow it to play out and just see, and who knows, maybe I'll come into the information on my own. Did that fit in?
It fit in, yeah.
Okay.
And just like right now, Pattie's pursuing shamanism, which is a totally fascinating field of study for me. But some of the things that she'll choose to do or really dive into, I can't understand. I don't understand why one would do that. Right. But she does. That's her passion. And I don't ever stop you. I say, I support you in doing that, because I accept this is who you are. And I don't want to change you anyway. Even if who you are sometimes challenges me to open up my mind a little bit, it's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
But it really took both, I think it takes both of us a concerted effort to allow and accept one another as we continue to blossom.
Yeah, because as we continue to grow, there are still things that get triggered in us, that may have been lying dormant for many years, because there was a point in time where the relationship, like the information was coming in, but the relationship that we were having was somewhat staying the same because we weren't growing at an exponential rate, and now it's like things are happening fast and things are changing fast, but
Yeah.
Did that make sense?
It's funny. We should have put on there being a good listener, because I was like blanking out, thinking about the next point. And then I realized I was doing that. I was like, I should follow along what she's saying. So I don't know what you just said, but I'm sure it's fine, love.
Okay.
This next one we're going to discuss romance. This is something I was personally horrible at. My father was not the most romantic guy, so I never really had a role model to show me what it was like to be romantically affectionate towards another person, so I just naturally wasn't. But Pattie didn't like that very much, and she kind of trained me and sort of explained, listen, honey, this is something I need and I demand in the relationship. So I had to kind of learn and almost study how to become romantic, because apparently it is important. And now that I am more romantic, and we have that romantic affection towards one another, I could see where the lacking of it would there'd be something missing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you could explain so much why it's important to you, or important to have, romance.
Well, I feel like it's important for me because you can say that you care about someone, but it's important to show it as well.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to show that you care about someone. For example, some of the things that I might think that are romantic that you do, someone else might think is not romantic at all. Like you surprised me with like a shaman tool, or like one day I came in and there was a feather on the counter. I find them everywhere, and I like kind of collect them a little bit. And so like that's something that for me is very romantic and sweet, but someone else might be like, why'd you give me a feather, you weirdo?
Well, of course, yeah. I think it's like...
But it's personal. It's very personal and a thoughtful thing that you do regularly. That's like,
yes.
Helps me to know like, oh, yay, he was thinking of me. That's sweet.
Yeah, that's what I agree. It's like physical demonstrations of thoughtfulness.
Yeah.
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 Strength is our next one. You want to talk about that? You wrote this one down.
Yeah, I wrote this one down because everyone has dark times, and it's important for, at least I felt it was very important for, even like when you were going through a really dark time, I had to be extra strong for you, because I had to be strong for you, I had to be strong for the kids, and I had to be strong for myself and able to support you, to help lift you up when you were in your dark place. And it's the same the other way around. You have to be strong sometimes when I'm in a dark place.
Right.
To help because it makes for an easier time when you're in your dark place, when you know that you've got someone that's with you, that's strong and supportive and there for you.
Yeah, and I look at it like both of us and pretty much everyone watching this channel is on a path of self-discovery and self-transformation.
Yes.
And it's an up and down kind of thing. But if you're not afforded the freedom to be vulnerable and to go into your dark places, which is sometimes what is required to really make these big jumps in our healing. If you can never do that because the partner is never there for you, never strong enough to kind of hold you both up when the time is right, then you won't be happy, because you won't be really on your path of accelerated expansion as you all are.
Right, and you also won't feel that you're able to really go deep into the dark place, because you need to be able to go deep into the dark place in order to fully come out of it.
Yeah, and I don't know if we talked about this, but an allowance of that happening is important too. Like, Like for when you go into a dark place, she can act very like a basket case, quite frankly. Me too. But my point is like I experience her in her dark place. I can feel it. It's like
even if I don't say anything, even if I don't verbalize that I'm processing something deep, you still are aware of it. And same, goes for me.
But I've learned to, even though it's an uncomfortable energy to be in the presence of somebody going into their darkness, I've learned to kind of say, you know what? I'm going to do my best to kind of hold space for her. And then she does the exact same thing for me. I'm no better. In fact, I'm probably more unbalanced than you are. So she's always holding space for me. But that's very important.
I wouldn't say that.
I know. I just didn't want them to get the impression that I was like dogging on you or something.
No, yeah. I wouldn't say that. I feel like it's equal.
It's equal.
And lucky for us, it's never usually at the same time.
Right.
Which is, it's fortunate.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll be like the next day.
Yeah.
too.
There's usually little what's the time?
Reprieve.
A little reprieve. Yeah. Number 8 is kindness. She wrote the kindness down, so I want to see what she had to say.
Well, I wrote it down because it's important to be kind when you're going through things that maybe someone doesn't understand, or someone meaning your partner. I don't know. I guess I just felt it's important to be kind.
Yeah, she wrote down kindness, and then next to it, being sensitive. This is important.
Well, I guess like being sensitive to when you're going through things, I think is what I meant by that. So like when you're in a dark space and I'm holding space for you, I try to make a point to, even if I might be going through something at that same time, I try to make it a point to not take my shit out on you because you're experiencing your own stuff, and I could just be in need of processing my own stuff as well. So
yeah, I agree. It kind of goes in harmony with what we were saying.
Yeah.
Like when we're in tune with each other, and we can tell when one is going through something. So that's not the time to maybe bring up a frustration I have when
like,
she's
why
already.
Didn't you send out this thing? Or
Speaking
something.
of that, why didn't you? No, I was kidding.
I forgot.
It's just being that genuine like lovingness and kindness and sensitivity to where your partner is at. Mm-hmm. Number 9 is equality.
Oh, I wrote this one down too, but I feel it's important that neither one of us wears the pants in the relationship. He has things that he does that I don't do, and I have things that I do that he doesn't do. But as far as emotionally, no one is in control. Sometimes he's more dominant and sometimes I'm more dominant, but there's always a balance. So neither one of us feels like we're being shut down or pushed down.
Yeah, I agree. I just say rare is it that one of us is like controlling and dominant in that way. I think both of us have a lot of self-respect and don't tolerate that well. And I think most empathic people won't want to be either the dominant one where they control everything, or the one who is dominated, the submissive one. I think there really needs to be a balance, because it's just not
there's
not empowering to either person, really.
Right. Yeah, there's no place for either role in extreme amounts, because the purpose of going through the spiritual awakening is to empower yourself and empower others. And how can you empower others if you're being submissive all the time or you're being controlling all the time? There's no, that doesn't balance out.
Yeah, like I really feel like if one of us was to try to like take over in that way, it would be like the end of the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't try.
I thought about it, but I don't think she would allow it, so. Anyways, my friends, honestly, this video was just a reason to express to you guys just some of the things you learned in our own relationship. I think that any empathic person would benefit from having these 9 things. I think anybody any human being would benefit from having these 9 things in the relationship. You don't have to be an empathic person. Neither of us are tied to that word at all. We simply use it as a springboard to share the message that we feel guided to share. So I hope you guys in some way were able to benefit from it. Thank you again, love, for coming on the channel.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. If you guys like listening to us, if you don't know, we actually do a podcast once a week. It's called the Awaken Life Podcast. I'll leave a link down below this video. And every week, if you like the kind of way, in fact, I would say our podcasts are even a bit more informal than this, right?
Yeah.
We really just it's kind of a fun back and forth conversation.
Yeah.
This had some more structure to it.
And when I'm on camera, I'm a lot different than I am like on the podcast because I just...
You did good. You did fine.
Yes. But I just feel like I do better on the podcast.
Maybe, yeah. She was a bit better on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing with me.
Yeah. Anyways, my friends, we got to bounce. Our little kids in there watching TV. We got to put an end to that. We'll see you all next time. Have an amazing day. Namaste.
Namaste.